There is a moment in every life when the question arrives like a whisper in the dark, a quiet, persistent doubt that curls around the edges of your certainty. Have I missed my chance? Is the door closing behind me? We live in a world obsessed with timelines, with milestones etched in stone, as if life were a race and 30 the finish line. But what if the truth is far stranger? What if time is not a ruler, but a mirror, reflecting back not what you've lost, but what you've yet to discover? Imagine a man standing at the edge of a forest. He's been told the path ends at 30, that beyond lies only thicket and shadow. So he hesitates, measuring the weight of his years like coins in a dwindling purse. But what if the forest doesn't end? What if it simply changes, its trees growing taller, its roots deeper, its secrets more luminous with every step? The Stoics knew this truth, that time is not a thief, but a teacher, and the only true deadline is the one we impose upon ourselves. Consider the story of the ancient olive tree. It does not rush to bear fruit. It does not apologize for the years it spent stretching its roots into the dark, unseen. And when it finally yields, its oil is richer, its branches more resilient. Why then do we measure our lives in harvests as if the soil of our souls has no right to lie fallow? The world will tell you that by 30 you should know your purpose, your place, your name. But the deeper truth is this: knowing is not a destination. It is a current, a river that carves its path slowly, relentlessly through the bedrock of your becoming. So let me ask you, what happens to a person who refuses to bend to the tyranny of the timeline? Do they wither? Or do they become like the oak, whose strength comes not from speed, but from stillness? We fear the unanswered question, the unresolved life. We mistake clarity for completion, as if to say I don't know is a confession of failure. But what if it's the bravest thing a person can utter? What if the admission of uncertainty is the first true step toward wisdom? Think of the sculptor again. Does the marble complain when the chisel strikes? Does it mourn the pieces that fall away, or does it trust the hand that reveals its form? You are both the sculptor and the stone. Every doubt, every unanswered question is not a flaw, but a strike of the chisel. And the masterpiece is not what you've carved by 30, but what you've dared to leave uncarved. The space you've allowed for the unexpected, the unimagined. The world thrives on urgency. It sells you clocks when what you need is a compass. It shouts, hurry, when the soul whispers, wait. But here's the secret the Stoics carved into their walls. Time is not your enemy. It is the anvil upon which you are forged. The longer you stand in the fire, the more you shed. The illusions, the borrowed dreams, the fragile masks, until what remains is unbreakable. So I ask you now, what if the question isn't, is it too late? What if the question is, what if it's just begun? Close your eyes. Listen to the silence beneath the noise of expectations. There is a voice there, faint but unyielding. It does not count years. It does not measure worth in milestones. It asks only one thing: are you ready to meet yourself? And if you're still here, if you're still listening, then you already know the answer. This is not the end. It's not even the beginning. It's the space between where the real work happens. So stay with me, like and subscribe, because the conversation is just starting, and the forest ahead is vast. There's a clock ticking inside you, or at least that's what they've led you to believe. A clock that chimes 30 like a funeral bell, as if something vital has slipped through your fingers. But what if that clock is a liar? What if time doesn't diminish you, but distills you? Think of the winemaker. Does he panic when the grapes don't ferment fast enough? Does he curse the barrel for demanding patience? No. He understands that the best wines are born from waiting, from the alchemy of time and darkness. And yet, when it comes to our own lives, we scream at the universe for answers now as if wisdom could be microwaved. Society hands you a script. Learn by 20, build by 30, settle by 40, fade by 50. But who wrote this script? The same voices that once swore the earth was flat. The same fear that calls a caterpillar failed because it hasn't yet grown wings. You are not a product with an expiration date. You are a story, and some stories take longer to tell. Consider the tale of the desert. For years, it is cracked earth, a wasteland of not yet. Then one night, rain falls, slow, insistent, and what was barren erupts in blooms that exists nowhere else on earth. The desert didn't fail by staying dry. It was simply waiting for its own kind of rain. So tell me, what if your 30s or 40s or 50s are not a deadline, but a desert on the verge of blooming? What if the things you call late are just unseen roots? The world worships prodigies, but forgets that most oaks take decades to shade the ground. Van Gogh sold one painting in his lifetime. Kafka asked for his work to be burned. The timeline is not the judge of your worth. And here's the secret they don't tell you. The people who figured it out at 20 often wake at 30 realizing they were wrong. The marriage, the career, the identity, all built on a self that no longer exists. Is that success? Or is it the quieter triumph of the one who waited, who refused to sign contracts with his younger self's illusions? The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote that life can only be understood backward, but must be lived forward. You are not meant to have all the answers. You are meant to have all the questions, to stand in the uncertainty like a monk in prayer until the uncertainty itself becomes a kind of wisdom. So I ask you again, who decided 30 was the cutoff? Who carved that number into your bones? Was it you? Or was it a chorus of ghosts, parents, peers, algorithms, all whispering that you're running out of time? But out of time for what? To please them? To mimic their paths? There's a reason the second act of every great story is chaos. The hero has lost the map. The allies have betrayed him. The plan has collapsed. This isn't failure. It's the universe forcing him to dig deeper, to find the truth that was buried under all the shoulds. Your confusion is not a sign of being lost. It's a sign of being alive, of outgrowing the old answers. The caterpillar doesn't mourn when its body dissolves in the chrysalis. It becomes something entirely new. And if you're still here, still listening through the discomfort, then you already feel it. That flicker of rebellion against the tyranny of timelines. That quiet voice saying, maybe my path doesn't look like theirs. Maybe that's the point. This is where the real work begins. Stay with me, like and subscribe, because the next chapter is where we dismantle the lies one by one. You wake one morning and the mirror shows you a stranger. The face is yours, but the eyes have changed. They no longer burn with the old hunger for approval. They no longer flinch at the word late What has happened? There is a moment in every life when the armor begins to crack, not from weakness, but from the unbearable weight of its own irrelevance. You built this armor at 20, shaped it from shoulds and musts, polished it with borrowed dreams. But now, at the threshold of your 30s or beyond, it feels less like protection and more like a cage. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs broken pottery with gold lacquer. The fractures become the art. What if your so-called failures, the career you quit, the love you lost, the path you didn't take, are not mistakes, but kintsugi seams? What if the universe isn't punishing you for being slow, but gilding you for being real? Consider the silence of a forest after snowfall. Every branch bears the weight of white. Every footprint is erased. This is what unbecoming feels like. The old labels dissolve. The old metrics fail. You stand knee-deep in the quiet, no longer certain who you are, but for the first time, certain of who you are not. Society calls this a crisis. The poets call it awakening. Why do we fear the unraveling? Why do we cling to identities that no longer fit, like children clutching outgrown blankets? Rilke wrote, "You must give up the life you planned in order to have the life that is waiting for you." But here's the terror and the triumph. The life waiting for you doesn't come with a map. It comes with a question. Now that no one is watching, who do you dare to become? Think of the violin. Its wood must endure decades of tension before it can produce depth. The finest instruments are not young. They have weathered seasons. They have waited. They have earned their sound. You are not behind. You are seasoning. The world will show you 30-year-old CEOs and say, "This is success." It will not show you the 40-year-old who left the boardroom to bake bread, finally free. It will not show you the 50-year-old who picked up a paintbrush and discovered colors the child in her had never dared to name. So let me ask you, what have you postponed because it didn't fit the timeline? What voice have you silenced because it spoke in the wrong decade? There is a story about a man who planted a fig tree. His neighbor laughed. "Do you expect to eat its fruit?" The man replied, "If not me, then someone. Some truths take generations to ripen. Some hungers are not meant to be satisfied in a single lifetime." The most dangerous lie you were ever told is that there exists a right time for anything. That life operates on some universal schedule where dreams have expiration dates and second acts require justification. Consider the blacksmith's forge. The iron does not ask if it's too late to become a sword. The fire does not apologize for needing time to temper steel. Nature understands what modern man has forgotten. That transformation cannot be rushed, only honored. There is a quiet revolution happening in the hearts of those labeled behind schedule, a dawning realization that the timeline was never real, only a collective hallucination, a mass delusion designed to keep you obedient, productive, small. Why do we worship child prodigies but distrust late bloomers? Mozart composed at 5, but Laura Ingalls Wilder published Little House on the Prairie at 65. Van Gogh painted his first masterpiece at 33. Grandma Moses began at 78. The world remembers their art but erases their timelines. Because the truth is inconvenient, it proves that genius has no expiration date. Think of the sequoia tree. For its first 100 years, It grows less than a foot annually underground. Its roots spread silently. Then one season, when the time is right, it surges upward, becoming what it was always meant to be. Not late, not early, simply on time for its own becoming. So I ask you, who decided that your awakening came too late? The same people who profit from your panic? The universities that sell degrees like expiration dates? The corporations that want you hungry and hurried? The influencers peddling 30 under 30 lists like gospel? There is a reason ancient cultures revered elders. They understood that some wisdom cannot be accelerated, that the most valuable lessons arrive only after you've outgrown the need for applause, after you've stopped counting birthdays and started counting truths. The Japanese have a concept, ikigai. The reason you wake up in the morning, they never attach an age to its discovery because they know purpose isn't found on schedule. It's unearthed, like a diamond in dark soil, like a poem written in invisible ink that only appears when held to the right kind of light. Your frustration is not proof of failure, it's the friction of transformation, the sound of old lies crumbling. So let me ask you directly, what would you attempt if you deleted the concept of too late from your vocabulary? What dormant dream have you buried under the false marker of past due? The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "We suffer because we believe life is a journey. But what if it's a dance? In a journey, you worry about arriving late. In a dance, there is only the music, and the music never asks how old you are, only if you're willing to move." This is your invitation to the rebellion, to the sacred clan of those who bloom when they damn well please. You keep digging through the past with your bare hands, searching for evidence that you wasted your life. Every unfinished project feels like a crime scene. Every year without a milestone becomes Exhibit A in the trial against yourself. But what if you're not the prosecutor? What if you're the archaeologist? Consider how real archaeologists work. They don't curse the earth for hiding its treasures. They understand that depth takes time, that what lies buried is not lost, just waiting. Your so-called wasted years are not a void. They are a stratigraphy of becoming, layer upon layer of necessary transformation. The ancient Persians had a practice called akli farsi, the art of purposeful delay. They believed some decisions should ferment like fine wine, that rushing was the real sin against time. Meanwhile, modern man checks his watch like a prisoner counting down his sentence. There's a reason we find shipwrecks fascinating. Their cargo often becomes more valuable after decades underwater. The same wood that would have rotted on land becomes petrified treasure in the depths. What if your apparent detours are doing the same to your soul?